I noticed something very interesting in that document. Student loans, and I mean, that is really ambitious, especially for people who have stayed outside of the country. They know how it is. Yes, it's controversial in some areas. The U.S. trying to get that burden off the neck of students and all of that. But at least for a nation like Nigeria, what we have seen in the education sector, some might think, wait a minute, it's a good idea because we've seen it in the past during the military regime. But then a lot of people remember this statement that the presidential candidate made in 2015. Take a listen.
We will give you student loan. Our program, 4 years will be 4 years. You will not extend before 4 years to graduate in a university. By the time, on your 4th year, you will be taken through that critical part.
Senior Advocate, where are the student loans today? That was in 2015.
I think the roadmap and the foundation is being laid. Let me tell you why. Because, you see, you also need to ramp up revenues first and make them available for people and for students to tap into that revenue base. And that, well, we're talking about revenue now, how to ramp up those revenues. Don't forget that when we came in 2015, and this is a significant point I want to make. I want everybody to fact-check me as I speak. In 2014, no less a person than Okonjo-Iweala, who was then Minister of Finance, told everyone that we're headed to recession. So it's not we did not give that excuse. It was a PDP government that said at the time they were leaving that the country was on a downward slide towards recession. And that was in 2013 and 2014. Now, what happened, therefore, was that we came in and met that recession, and then the country slid into recession. But because of the deftness of the handling of the economy, we came out of the recession faster than even the IMF predicted. And also the second recessions, we came out faster than it, they predicted. Then we now met low oil production that dropped to 700,000 barrels per day, at times 600,000 barrels per day, when we should have been on 2.3 million barrels per day. We met those problems on the ground. So there was a problem of revenue, but the dream remained alive. The dream to fulfill these promises are still alive today as we begin to ramp up our revenues and rescue the economy from where PDP left the economy. And that is where we are now. So you can see that
a couple of issues.
The sound bites.
Right.
The sound bites you just played now shows the... Yes, go ahead.
You can land quickly, just because of time. You said it shows the...
The soundbite you just showed now is a further promotion of our candidate because it shows his consistency of thought.
All right, so let's break it down.
About it then in 2014.
Let's break your response down.
Talking about it now too.
Right, so let's break your response down.
Thoughts.
You said that the former Minister of Finance said in 2013 that there was going to be a recession. Your candidate made that statement in 2015 January, being aware of those statements made that Nigeria was getting into recession. Yet he made that promise to thousands of young people, in fact, maybe millions who were listening at that time. So that's on the one hand. So if he made that promise at that time, it's almost 8 years now, no students loan. What is the assurance, really, that the one he's making now, that in 7 years to come, there will be a reality? And you said that your government meant 700,000 barrels of crude at that time. Well, that is not true, at least according to the OPEC figures. This government was doing, as at May 2015, was doing between 1.6 million and 1.9 million barrels per day.
By the end of 2015, production dropped. Go and fact check me. End of 2015, early 20, there was disruption in production in the Niger Delta region. So everybody can fact check me. It dropped.
You said it dropped to 700,000, and I'm giving you the figures of what your government meant when you came in. 1.6 million, 1.7 million. In fact, the price of crude at that time, when your candidate said he was at the lowest, was about $60-something. Not at the lowest. The lowest has been $25 in the 20 years that we've seen.
So, well, I'm telling you to fact check me that when we came
I just did. That when you came in, it wasn't $700,000.
But you were saying May. You are mentioning May 2015.
And I gave you June as well. June was 1.7 million.
And I'm telling you that.
That's when you came in. If you're not taking May, I'm giving you June. Yes, so June is 1.7 million barrels per day.
Yes, yes. When do you plan your budget? When was our first budget planned? Our first budget was a 2016
is
budget.
Pointedly at the statement you made that you made $700,000 per barrel. Sorry, 700,000 barrels per day.
It dropped. No, don't misquote me. When we took over, it dropped to 700 because of disruption of production. And I want everybody to fact check you and I.
I just did. I just gave you the figures when you came in, but in order not to belabor the point.
I'm telling you that the budget. Look, listen. The first budget we planned was a 2016 budget. And that 2016 budget was based on $700,000 production. And oil price based on $30-something per barrel. That was the first budget we planned. So that 2015 was not our budget.
Okay, so you're essentially shifting it from when you came into government to when you planned the budget, because your statement was we met 700,000
Well, I'm not shifting it. You are the one shifting it, because
no, those were your words actually.
No,
earlier
you are the one shifting it. You are the one shifting it. You are the one shifting it because essentially our budget when we came in is when we planned our budget. Our budget was based on 700,000 barrels per day, and production and oil prices had dropped to about $30-something per barrel. Go and check.
Well, based on the statements you made, I at least gave you the facts on ground. But the point also is that he made that promise then that you would have student loan, and he was specific. I mean, yes. And you listened to him. So if it didn't happen when he promised then in 2015, this is 2022. It looks like it won't even happen anyway. How are we sure that we can hold on to his words this time around?
Because we're not talking about a situation where we had laid a foundation to the point where we are going to now have more revenues. And the pathway to have those revenues have been clearly laid. You cannot meet those demands or those expectations without revenues. And I just told you that the vagaries of local disruption of production and international headwinds that we had to face disrupted revenues. So it's a matter of fact. I'm stating.
All right. So, I mean, just to be fair, Senior Advocate, will he be apologizing then to Nigerians for the promise he made that has not come to fruition?
No. Do you have to apologize to perhaps force majeure? When you have a force majeure, you don't apologize. Those are force majeure.
Well, I think a lot of people will say, at least it's as a leader who made a promise to people. I mean, it's only fair to say, well, we promised this, but we apologize, we couldn't do it because of these reasons. Because, I mean, you respect the people.
Hold on. Let me first of all ask you, do you know what they call force majeure in contract law and law?
I imagine that's a rhetorical question, Senior Advocate.
No, it's not rhetorical. Let me explain what force majeure means. Even when two people are in a contractual
obligation, I think we all do. The question is just basically...
But you're interrupting me.
No, because of time. I think it's actually a general term that a lot of people understand.
You cannot ask something and run away.
I'm not running away. It's because of time. My question was, would he apologize to Nigerians? And you didn't answer the question.
I said when you have a force majeure, I said when you have a force majeure.
So essentially, he doesn't need to apologize.
You don't even need to. You are not.
All right, no problem. Noted.
I said when two people
Senior
are in a contractual obligation.
I'd like to ask you one more question
happens, nobody's liable to the other. Well, you're not listening to me.
I apologize. You've answered the question. I just need to ask you one more.
No, you have not answered it.
Well, you've answered that question. We understand that force majeure is an unforeseeable circumstance. I'm just trying to save time.
Exactly.
But on a final note,
people are in a contractual obligation, they are not liable when force majeure happens.
All right. So on a final note, I'd just like you to respond to this. I know it's always quite interesting having a conversation with you, with your background in law, I mean, human rights advocate and all of that. But another statement that he made at that time, and this was particularly about former President Goodluck Jonathan's tenure, was that Jonathan and his government are stealing 400,000 barrels of crude oil every day in Nigeria. Now, he made this statement in Oyo State during a campaigning, the usual campaign. And then he made that statement then. Right now, crude oil theft is still a major issue. At least we did 900,000 barrels, according to the president, just recently. So, again, would we say that this government is then responsible? If he said that Jonathan's government was responsible then, was there even any proof?
You have just made my day, because this recent discovery of the pipe that they laid to steal crude oil, they said it was established 9 years ago. And we just, out of truth, shrewdness and astuteness, we just discovered that pipeline now. So who was in government 9 years ago when that pipeline was established? You answer it to the Nigerian people. Kayode, tell the Nigerian people who was in government 9 years ago.